My name is Lennie Smith, and I'm a native Floridian, born and raised in Florida. And I had a little bit of experience with powerboats growing up with my family, but I didn't really get into real boating or sailing at all until I met Randy. And since him and we've been married 22 years this year, and together 25, so that was a requirement. There was a lot of boating and eventually sailing, and I just love it, and we have a great time doing it.
And my name is Randy Smith, and I'm originally from San Francisco, California. And I started sailing when I was about 12 years old in San Francisco Bay. And we had a couple of different sailboats that my dad had, and we got into racing and the whole sailing scene. And we got so enamored with the ocean and the sport that we sold our motorcycles and sold our ski cabin and got rid of our ski stuff, and just became full-time kind of waterborne people, and so much so that we moved to Florida. And when our youngest went to college, we flew straight to the Caribbean and we bought a monohull. And that's what got the sailing started. And then after 3 years of sailing a monohull, because I was a purist.
He was a purist.
Yeah.
I will never have a catamaran. We couldn't even charter a catamaran.
I wouldn't even let.
We had a big family. I'm like, please, finally, he let us charter a catamaran.
and then once we chartered a catamaran, then it was over. We sold the monohull and bought a couple of great charter cats and started exploring. And we actually sailed them over 30,000 miles over a 5-year period. So when we decided to purchase a catamaran, we had chartered a cat with a forward cockpit. And once we did that, we realized just how valuable it was to have a door to the front of the boat instead of walking around every time you need to go forward, which is often. It's almost constant that we're going forward on the boat, whether it's anchoring, mooring, lookout, whatever it is. And it's a great place to be, because when you anchor at night, that's where the wind is blowing from. And so we honed in on a Leopard because the designers had built these boats with forward cockpits. And at the time, we really liked the Lagoons and the Fountain Pajots, but we were really drawn to this forward cockpit. So we bought our first Leopard 48, and that's the boat we sailed from Florida to San Francisco, California, and back through the Panama Canal twice. And we had a great time on that.
And then they came out with the 50. Leopard introduced the 50 model, and so we fell in love with that just to have more space. We didn't really need it. The 48 was great, but it was just newer and better and newer technology. And so we ordered the 50, and we had that for about 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years. COVID kind of slowed us down.
COVID kind of messed us up. We were planning to do the ARC rally with it. We were going to rally around the world, and then COVID happened, and that kind of put a squash on that. So it gave us time to think about what would be next, and that's how we got to the Kinetic.
Yeah, after all those ocean miles in the catamarans, and we loved them, and they were great for us. We started kind of hitting our limit where we wanted to increase performance. And so we kind of started looking at these performance cats, and over the last, there was a 10-year period where catamarans kind of proliferated the sailing scene. And then over the last 5 to 7 years, this performance cat thing started getting big. And different world. And so we started watching these performance cats, and it started with, we're never gonna have a performance cat. We like our comfort and our luxury. And we viewed it as a trade-off, right, of comfort and luxury and performance. Because the performance cats that we'd been on, were tiny little hulls and just not what we were used to. So we always picked comfort over performance. And after looking at a few of the newer models, and then the Kinetic came out, and the designer who designed our Leopards, and we got to know him pretty well, Alex Simonis, he and his partner Martin were working on this project with Kinetic, and he said, listen, I'm gonna send you these plans, and you're gonna be hooked, because now you can have all the space and comfort and luxury, and you can have a lightweight, fast catamaran. And we saw the plans, obviously had the forward cockpit, which was a must for us, and we were hooked, and we decided that was the right decision for us.
So with our last boat, the 50-foot catamaran, we were really learning to sail it well together. I was learning to sail it better than I had been. It had taken a couple years for Randy to teach me, but we were getting very good. And Randy wanted our 50 to be the fastest, most high performance Leopard 50.
And it was.
Ever.
Is.
And it is. We spent money and redid all the running rigging, all the lines, all the
sails,
clutches, new sails, the highest performance that we could get for that boat. And it really did push it to the limit. We were sailing it faster than anybody that we know of has sailed that particular model. So we pushed it as far as it went, and it got to the point where Randy wanted a little bit more challenge, and that's how we started talking about the performance cats, because we wanted to take our own sailing level up a notch, and to do that we needed, a different machine.
Do you know what I find amazing is every time we just figured out how to sail our boat correctly, we sold it.
We sold it, yeah.
Right? And like right when we'd master it and say, we've really got this boat down. And to me, sailing is like golf. You can teach somebody the sport and let them have a whack at the ball, but it takes a lifetime to master. So a lot of people consider that we are accomplished sailors. We don't feel that way. We feel like we're amateur golfers, with this sport, but as Lennie mentioned, we got to the point where we were ready to make the jump to a high performance boat, and the Kinetic is not just a high performance boat, it's in our opinion best in class. The systems and the way that boat is built and put together, and all of the sailing gear, everything is best in class and high performance minded. And I think it's going to set us back, and we're going to be a little bit in awe of this boat when we get started and we take it away. And it's going to take us a while to hit our stride and probably get really comfortable with it. But when we were in the Chesapeake Bay after the Annapolis Boat Show, which is where we pulled the trigger,
we test drove the first one.
We test drove KC54 which was hole number 1. And we were in 12 knots of wind sailing the boat at 13 knots, and you couldn't get my hands off the steering wheel. Yeah. It was an absolute thrill. And that was kind of what sealed the deal.
Yeah.
And then we went in and met with the owner and made the decision to buy the boat. For us, this experience, we've never built a custom boat before. We've ordered new boats before, and so custom, we didn't really know what to expect. And with the help of Alex and Martin, the designers, they basically gave us the comfort level that this is a quality yard, that Leon at the yard who's the managing director, has been building boats essentially his whole life. He has a lot of carbon experience. So we had a warm feeling coming in that we had the right, the owner of Kinetic, one of the owners, Bob, was our first contact. And, I asked him once, is this a business or a hobby? And he said, no, it's a business. But when you see his passion for this, it's clearly a hobby as well. And so it started with just phone calls with Bob. Mm-hmm. And we did a couple Zoom calls with them. We met him in person at the show. We did some Zoom calls with Leon. And it immediately felt like we were really in control of the decisions. They had designed the boat and they had all the sailing systems, but they allowed us to really do whatever we want. So if you wanted to move a door or a port or a head, whatever you wanted to do, everything was yes. And it was almost surprising because Bob is so customer focused that I expected that we were gonna, go to bed with Bob and wake up with Leon, and Leon was gonna be the opposite. I expected the yard guy to be more challenging. Leon is as customer friendly as Bob is, and every time we're, hey Leon, do you mind if we do this, or can we change that? Nothing's ever a problem.
Right. Like to the point of the design, because we had so much experience, or in our minds, with the boats and how we use them, we were very specific about what we wanted. We wanted one whole hull to be the master stateroom. That's what we wanted, and that was very important to us. We told the architects from the beginning, we won't buy this if we can't design it the way we want, and it was not a problem. And so together the team all worked to get us exactly the layout we wanted, and we just saw it in the yard, and it's amazing. It's exactly what we visioned. So that was a great experience for us.
Yeah, and also we've met with the sail makers, the mast manufacturer. We've met with K Electronics, who's doing all the electrical systems on the boat, and everybody. It seems like they've really culled together a wonderful team to produce like exceptional yachts. And what's interesting is about this trip to Neisna, and we'd never been to Neisna, and just what a beautiful place.
So beautiful.
That they live and work and produce these boats.
And they all told us, you have to come to see the yard, it's beautiful, so we couldn't wait. So we're very, very happy, and we're excited to come back again, so we'll be back soon.
We'll be taking delivery here and watching the boat go into the water. But it's really, it's added to the experience, the whole South Africa Neisna experience, and just the people and the culture and the friendliness for everywhere, from in the restaurants, just everybody we've dealt with. And going to the yard is fun because we walk in the door and there's a lot of people in there working, building different things. And I just went over with my video camera and asked everybody what they were doing, and it's big smiles and let me explain what I'm doing. I'm building a rudder, or I'm building this, whatever.
Very
it was
accommodating.
Really, really fun.
Great experience.
Yeah, and the design, we had to take several cracks at it to get just what we wanted, but they kept tweaking it. And then we had a really interesting experience when the master stateroom was done. Most of it, Leon took a picture and sent it to us and said, what do you think about this? And we said, we think the cabinetry is too tight and the bed is too close. And he said, well, that's what I think too, so we're going to move it all for you. And they were able to, you know what I mean? So it's like he's gotten to know us, he knows what we're looking for, so if he sees something he doesn't think is going to be just right, even though we had signed off on the plans, he went in and made the changes.
And even now, we're here today to see 5402, which is gorgeous and awesome, and we're learning so much from them of things they did, and then we're going back and saying, oh, can we still do this? Can we still do that? And it's nothing's been a problem. So that's been great that they're willing to help us get where we want to be now that we've learned, because they're learning too, right, from all the different owners. So it's been great.
Yeah, it's also been fun to meet the owners of 5402. We haven't met 5401 yet or 04 yet.
Not yet.
But getting to know Connie and Yaron has been a pleasure. So we've spent the last few days out test sailing their boat, and we're watching them go through the experience, so we know what's coming, and we are taking copious notes and going over them with Leon. It's really great. I would recommend anybody come down here and see the process.
So as far as our custom layout, the things that were very important to us was, like I mentioned, the master stateroom. So we wanted the whole port hull to be our stateroom. So we have the bed aft, we have a lot of storage, and then a very large master bathroom forward. We
call it a head.
It's a head.
But it looks like a master bathroom.
It does, looks like it has a double vanity, and then also within that stateroom, I have to have a separate washer and dryer, which is very not sailor friendly, but
and it's heavy.
And it's heavy, but that is our lifestyle. That's what we had on the 50, and that was kind of a must for me. So they were able to design it into that stateroom area so that's all in one space, and I don't have to go somewhere else to do the laundry. So that was very important for me. And for our guests, so basically we only end up with 2 guest rooms on the starboard hull. And one of the things that we had to change was to make sure each one of them had its own individual head and its own individual shower compartment so that they didn't have to share. That's just what works for our family. Our children are adult children now. They're all married and have children of their own. So when they do visit, that's what we wanted for them to have that privacy. And then also in the galley, there were certain things that we had to have, like an ice maker, which we had to find a place for.
We're the worst sailors ever. We've got a washer and dryer, a dive compressor,
that's part of the comfort.
An ice maker. What else did you add to
a wine fridge?
Oh, what else did you add to the boat? For everything that she added, that she just mentioned, I do love them too. We literally had to play a game of trade-off for weight, right? Because the best thing about a carbon boat is it's lightweight, and that's what enables it to sail at wind speed. And so the last thing you want to do with any catamaran is overweight it. And some people, give up the ghost and they overweight their boats and they just sail around at 5 or 6 knots, and that's what's good for them. They sell their house, they show up with a U-Haul, they, move into the boat. We're minimalist with our. It's funny I say that. We're minimalist in how we load the boat. So some people get on our boat and say, have you moved in yet? But the reason we do that is because all our books are digital. We don't want to carry, paper books on the boat because it's weight. We know we're adding these awesome features that make it comfortable to live. So I have to find 1,000 pounds that I can save in our gear and our personal effects. And we, you mentioned, I think, scuba compressor. Yeah. We're avid divers, right? So we dive twice a day when we're on the boat. And our first boat didn't have a scuba compressor. Well, that was a pain in the butt to putting the dive bottles in the dinghy and trying to find air and all that, and it limited our diving. Once we had a scuba compressor, then we could dive twice a day, refill our tanks, no problem. So, that was another one when we kept telling Bob and Leon, and add 150 pounds for this. Yeah. And it's not just the scuba compressor, but it's all the gear that comes with scuba. So because of the payload of the boat, we were able to design all these things in, still keeping an eye on weight where we could, but not giving up on anything we wanted. So the end result...
Well, the utility room.
Well, yeah, okay, so by doing the big master, we gave up, we had a utility room on the last boat. So Leon had a brilliant idea, and the designers, because we were giving up a stateroom, there was also room where the bed was, where they've built us a massive storage compartment in the port forward bow. So we basically picked up all of our storage space in that trade-off. Right. And so even though our boat will be hull number 3 of the KC54, it's Randy and Lennie's boat, Happy Together. It'll be like no other, and it'll be what we consider the best of the best of the best in design and function, from sailing systems to livability to right down to colors. And what's funny is we have 2 houses that look identical, and our boat is going to look like our 2 houses. Yeah. So we're not original in our design.
You're always at home, huh?
Yeah.
The name Happy Together, that's a good story. We, like I said, we started powerboating the minute I met Randy, and before we were even married, he already had a boat, and so we were looking at the next boat and what are we going to call the boat? So we would go around where we live in Southeast Florida on the intercoastal, and there's like lakes and places that you anchor out, and we were always looking at other people's boats, and we happened to go by this boat, and it was a Sea Ray, which was what we had back then, and it said Happy Together, and we both looked at each other, we were like, that's it. We're stealing Happy Together. It's the best name ever. So I will say I had a couple of other cool names on tap. Yeah, but we don't. But there was no chance you were giving up on Happy Together as the name. And so we bought our first Happy Together, and if our KC5403, if we were numbering our boats, I think this would be number 17. So we have a boating problem, we have a boating
right?
Problem, yeah.
And
so we couldn't number them because Randy would change boats like yearly, and it would be silly. So we're like, stop with the numbers, and we just Happy Together.
This time, can I say this is the last one?
Yeah, let's try. But another funny story is we would sell them because he would buy another one and not take the name off. And very often the couples thought it was really cute, so there'd be like 3 Happy Togethers in Boca Raton where we live because they didn't take the name off. So we started learning that now we take the name off before we sell the boat.
We make it part of the contract when we sell a boat now. You can't keep the name Happy Together. So what we've done with our sailing, we started by powerboating all through the Bahamas, right? So we'd been to every island in the Bahamas, and that was our playground, so close to South Florida. When we got our first monohull, named it Happy Together, we started sailing the Caribbean, and that was the beginning of our pre-retirement. So we were sailing a week a month. And then when we switched to the catamaran and did that big voyage to California and back, we really, I think, embraced the sport and realized this was just going to be our passion and what kind of like our life's calling is this sailing thing we have. And so we covered 30,000 miles on those boats. And with this boat, with each boat, you make a plan, and then you look back 3 years later, and it's never, you know what I mean?
What you thought.
Yeah, it's never what you thought. So with this boat, our plan is it's going to be our cruising platform and part-time home. We'll probably take delivery in the Caribbean or South Florida, because although I would love to sail at home, we know that it's going to take a while to get used to this boat, and we don't want to start with a 9,000-mile voyage. So we're going to start by bringing the boat to Florida, getting it, finish loading our gear and all that stuff, and then we will start by cruising the Caribbean, which is familiar waters to us in an unfamiliar boat, and we will get familiarized with the boat. Our plan after that is to go back through the Panama Canal and hit the Pacific, which we'd planned to do with our last boat.
We'll do it faster this time.
Yeah.
Which I like.
Yeah, and when the other thing about the name Happy Together is it kind of became this, it kind of turned into this YouTube channel where Lennie bought me a GoPro camera for Christmas in 2015 or 14, and we got the new catamaran, and we started sailing, and I started filming, and then I started launching a video to show my kids on YouTube. And my kids called and said, "Do you know that mom's in a bikini on the internet?" And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "What?" I didn't really know how YouTube worked, right?
No clue.
So the next day I had 300 views on this video, and I thought, and it was called Episode 1, Florida to the Bahamas. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I only sent it to 15 people, you know? And so what happened is we went to our first boat show, and people started coming up to us and saying, "Hey, I watched your video. It was inspirational. My wife and I want to do this," you know, that kind of thing. And it grew into a hobby. And we got pretty passionate about it. We used the channel to raise awareness for a charity that we're really fond of called Warrior Sailing, which is a great organization that helps injured and ill veterans rehabilitate. And so we just started filming, and you got involved, and we got pretty good at the editing. Later we had a producer. We were producing episodes every couple of weeks, and some would have 250,000 views. And so we ended up with like 30,000 subscribers.
And made some very good friends that way.
Oh, a ton of friends.
Very interesting, lots of boating, people that do what we do and have the same ideas that we do. So it's been a lot of fun. Yeah,
I would say most of our friend set now
are from the channel.
is from the YouTube channel, and it was a lot of fun. And after 4.5 years, we kind of hit the brakes, waiting for like a big adventure, and COVID, slowed everything down. And now the KC54 is our new adventure. So we're going to start producing videos, not weekly series or whatever, but we're going to go back to showing what this life is all about on a boat like this.
One of the great experiences we've had this week here in Neisner is we have met, like we mentioned before, the owners of 5402, and we Alex and Martin, the architects, were also here with us, who've become good friends, and we had the whole Kinetic team, which is just as wonderful as we've said. So it's been a great experience of a couple days of just this community that all has the same interest, and we're loving the boat, loving the factory, and we're hoping that we're all going to stay in touch. And that's what's great about a product like this, that it's getting off the ground, and we're all going to know each other and want to help each other. So that's what we've felt. It's a great feeling.
With the newer brand, I'm surprised at how fast it's become well known.
Right.
I mean, Kinetic is, everybody knows what it is, right? And everybody knows it's the luxury brand. And all the press that's written about the Kinetic says it's the Tesla of sailboats, or it's the, it was funny, somebody told me, "Oh, that's a bespoke boat for bespoke people." And I'm like, I gotta Google what bespoke means. And it essentially means, special things for special people. And we took it as a compliment, because there's people that if they have the means to do this is a really wonderful experience, and it's like best in class. And the people from the factory, the other owners, the suppliers, it is kind of a unique community. When we go to the boat show, we don't end up spending time looking at a lot of boats. We spent the entire time on the Kinetic with the Kinetic people. So we're not just raving fans, but we feel like we're part of the family.
So with the launch, or actually the whole process, from when we identified the Kinetic, when we found it offshore near our home so that we could see it for the first time, and when we bought it in Annapolis, we've been doing a little bit more filming and starting to launch some videos on the YouTube channel so that we can introduce to all of our family and friends and followers what we're doing. And so that's going to be fun. We'll have, a couple
You mean
new
I'm
episodes.
editing again?
He's up at editing again.
I'm editing again? Oh man. So yeah, the YouTube channel is called Sailing SV Happy Together. Sailing SV Happy Together. And we have over 100 videos on there, a lot of how-tos and stories of previous boats. And then all the latest episodes will be of the Kinetic and our experience in South Africa and the build process and the boat shows and all that. So, so we'd love for you to stop by our channel and subscribe and check out these videos. We're on Instagram at Sailing SV Happy Together on Instagram, and we're on Facebook, SV Happy Together as well. And we try to post updates so people can follow along our journey, and we love to get emails and notes, and I respond to all of them, so bring it on.